putting it on paper energetically just seals the deal. To me, it's a stronger way to accomplish the task. And whether that task is releasing the heavy thoughts, releasing the busy thoughts, or getting clear on that goal, it is like task accomplished when it is on paper.
You are always attracting energy into your life. The question is, what can you be mindful about attracting? I'm Shannon Bills, mindset mentor, energy healer, and intuitive reader. And today, we're having mindfulness for breakfast.
Good morning, everyone. How we doing today? Me? Thank you for asking me. I am in my feels, and you know when I am, I'm going to come to you guys because there's no secrets here. What I'm moving through, I'm going to share with you because I know that somebody needs to hear it. So this is a little niche, but not really. Entrepreneurs, creatives, people doing the thing that is not the norm, not the safety certainty path, not the safe certain mindset. It's the people that I'm speaking to right now, which I guarantee is probably you. You're the risk taker. You are the one that is on the path less traveled. And I'll use the word entrepreneur, business owner, but know that this is still you. What we're doing is a hard thing. There's no way of sugarcoating it. Ego is always going to present a safer, certain, more comfortable option in front of us. And that is something that I have been witnessing because out of all of my friends, everyone in my immediate friend group, people that I see every weekend, people that I talk to every day, there are a few of them that have started their own business, but not in the way that I've started a business. I don't know how else to describe this. Like most of my friend group, they have people that employ them or jobs readily available to them. And it's a little different when you are a coach. I'm a one-woman show. This is the point I'm getting at. I am a one-woman show at the moment. Obviously, my goals and desires and visions is having multiple people being full-time salaried employees working under me, so I just get to show up and do my creative thing. That is the goal. That's what we're manifesting. That's what we're putting out there. At the moment, in the last 5.5 years, I am the only payrolled employee. Do I, of course, have a couple of badass freelancers that help me out with copy for emails and for social media sometimes? And have I had people in the past help me out with social media? And do I have someone for my website? Yes, I want to give them credit too. I'm not doing all of that. But generally speaking, I'm a one-woman show. And sometimes your girl gets tired. Sometimes, I don't want to say the cons outweigh the pros, but sometimes the hard days outweigh the good days. And the last 24 hours, I've been feeling that. I've just kind of been like, wow, what I'm doing is really freaking hard. Showing up for myself, showing up for all of my clients, getting my name out to potential new clients, launching new programs, making sure that's all running smoothly. It's a lot. Like, I don't give myself enough credit. And I had one of my moments last night where, and I know you'll feel me on this, where I was like, I'm not where I want to be. And what's funny is I had this thought late last night. It ended up keeping me up all night. I was so aware of my racing thoughts. I was so aware of my limiting beliefs. I was so aware that I was not having a good night's sleep. And I was starting to get a headache. Well, the energetic root of a headache, it is putting too much pressure on yourself, being extra critical of yourself. That is the energetic root cause of a headache. I'm not sure if I shared that in a few episodes before where I talk about specific body parts having energetic meanings behind them, but that's the one for headache. And I totally developed one last night, and I woke up, and honestly, I feel like there's nothing worse than waking up with a really bad headache. And I knew, okay, energetic root of a headache, pressure on yourself, being extra critical on yourself, overthinking. And so my human self wanted to wake up and take some Advil this morning. But I heard my higher self so strongly be like, nope, 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 nope. We are shifting this without medicine. We are practicing what we preach and what we teach others, which is we created our internal state, which means we can also shift it, right? And so I didn't take the Advil. I first called my mom and just was like, Mom, be a soundboard for me. I need to just vent. I need to just cry and let it out and be like, I know this is logically not what I want to be thinking or feeling, but in this moment I am, and I'm going to honor that. And so I just was like, I'm not where I want to be, and why have so many of my other friends seen so much success, and I believe in my vision so much, and I don't like when I get in that because I know that's not me, but I also have to honor when it's coming up because at the same time, as much as I don't want to believe that's me with those thoughts, it's me with those thoughts. It's me creating the headache. It's me creating the ups and downs because of my frequency, because of my energy. And this is a point I always love to drive home to you guys, is that you are creating it. I had a client today be like, I hope I'm not creating, why it's so slow in my business right now and why I've just been so down and nothing good has been happening to me. I hope I'm not creating it. And I said, girl, you are. You are. And this is not a bad thing. I don't want you to think about this as, what does this mean, Shannon? That thought alone rocks my ego and throws my power away. No, it should be awareness and it should be data. And this is the point I'm constantly driving home is when you have some data, you take action around it. And so if the data is I'm creating this, we can create a different story. We can create a different narrative. We can create a different experience. And so I was just letting this all out to my mom. And I said, I know I need to journal. And so I spent time journaling today. And that's actually the point I want to bring to you. I have had so many people come to me being like, I don't know how to journal. What is the correct way to journal? There is no correct way to journal. I will share how I use journaling. I've been journaling since I was probably 12, 13 years old. Since middle school, I actively have been journaling. Not every day, not every week, sometimes not even every month. And I've always used it as a form of release, letting out whatever I'm feeling. I've always used it as a form of goal setting, writing down, getting clear on things that I specifically want. And I've always used it as a form of communicating with my higher self, communicating with my spirit guides, God, universe, whoever you talk to up there. We have a whole team of energetic beings. And that is how I specifically use it. But what I tell people is even a to-do list is journaling. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but I cannot stress enough how magical it is to just put something on paper. Good, bad, ugly, magical. Putting it on paper energetically just seals the deal. To me, it's just such a stronger way to accomplish the task. And whether that task is releasing the heavy thoughts, releasing the busy thoughts, or getting clear on that goal, or realizing where you're playing small. It is task accomplished when it is on paper. And something my mom would always tell me, this was one of my first quotes, that when people would be like, what's the best advice you ever got? This is what I used to say. My mom would always tell me, write it down, make it happen. Write it down, make it happen. And that is my intention about journaling. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you are not a journaler, highly recommend 10 out of 10. And it can be simple. Even if you're taking 2 minutes of your day to just get out a thought, get out a feeling, or get clear on something, think of how much more productive and magical your life is going to be when you are adding in this new thing to your routine. And it doesn't need to feel like a chore. I only journal maybe about once or twice a month. If you are new to journaling, your breakfast item for the next week is, let me just start journaling. Let me see what comes up. I know a lot of my actor following, they all read the book Artist Way. And there's something called morning pages where I believe, don't quote me, I haven't read the book, but you're supposed to write 3 full pages every single day. You don't have to do that, but if that feels fun, great. If you want to write down a sentence, I don't care what it is, but I want you to just get in the habit and seeing how journaling alone can shift so much for you. And so I want you for the next week, maybe even 2 weeks, to just dedicate 1 minute, 5 minutes, 30 minutes to journaling. And maybe it's a to-do list that day. Maybe it's writing down quotes that inspired you. Maybe it's getting clear on what you want your next week to look like or your next year to look like. I don't care what it is, but I want you to just get in this habit of why you specifically should be journaling. And once you get it, once you were seeing all the different ways to journal, then you could be a little bit more loosey-goosey with it, just like me. Writing all of these thoughts down, like today, I literally said, I'm calling on all of my guides, my angels, God, universe, higher self. I'm feeling overwhelmed of my calling. I have to let ego out for a minute and then release that energy. I started by saying, I feel like I've grown in a lot of ways, but here's the ways I'm not seeing momentum and I'm getting frustrated with it. And so I basically just wrote down all things I'm no longer available for. And not only am I just energetically declaring that, but I now have it on paper. I now have this paper to hold me accountable for things that I no longer want to be an energetic match for, things I no longer want to believe are true about me or my business. I'm releasing them today. So that's what I did in my journal. And I've had this journal, like this specific one, for a year. I have like 3 or 4 pages left, so I'm almost done. But that's what I mean. I don't journal every day. I don't have to. I know why my journal serves me and when to use it. And that's the awareness I want you to build today. But one last thought I want you to think about before I have to hop to a session in 3 minutes is something higher self dropped into my mind right when I was waking up with that headache, which, by the way, guys, after I journaled, my headache was completely gone. Didn't have to take Advil, shifted it completely, had 0 symptoms, and it was a really bad headache. I was like ready to get the Excedrin migraine medicine. And I just knew I had all this pressure built up inside of me. Called my mom, talked it out, wrote it in my journal, wrote it out, completely shifted it. That is so cool to me. So I want you to try that out. But the last thing I want to leave you with is this thought that higher self placed in my mind this morning when I was having the headache before I called my mom. And higher self said to me, if there was no timeline, would there be pressure? And I'm pretty sure I've touched upon this in other episodes of how there is this natural timeline we box ourselves into. When we want the house, when we want to get married, when we want to have kids, when we want to make X amount of dollars. But that is what's creating the pressure. And in my case, that is what was creating the headache and what was creating all of these limiting thoughts. Because on one hand, I see all of my friends have kids, literally all of them. I think I'm the only one from my high school that doesn't have kids. More than half of my friends have houses right now. More than half of my friends are making so much money in their careers. And those are all things where I feel this subconscious energy of like trying to play catch up. And therefore it's keeping me out of my present moment and keeping me out of my present gratitude and creating all this unnecessary worry and doubt and spiraling. And so when higher self said, if there was no timeline, would there be pressure? And it just got me really thinking. And so I also want to leave you with that thought today. And maybe that's the first thing you journal on, because destination addiction is such a real thing. Everybody is so focused on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then when we're focused on that next thing, it's keeping us out of alignment. That destination addiction is also what creates these uncomfy feelings. So if we could just take that destination addiction away, taking the timeline away, and just focusing on what is in front of us and seeing why it is the greatest thing that's happening to us, that alone is going to take so much pressure off. You're not going to get as many headaches. So journal on that today. I know I peppered in a couple of different things to think about. I hope this episode inspired you. And we're all moving through it, guys. We're all human. I'm so grateful that I get to do this with you. And I will talk to you next week.